it's interesting to me because I feel like everybody, especially guys, but even nowadays, most women, everybody wants to get rich, right? Like everybody wants to be financially free. Everybody wants to have a shit ton of money. Everybody wants to have the luxuries of that the rich have. But quite honestly, if you really think about it and you do your research, there's a big difference between rich and wealth. And like I guarantee you've seen like the wealthy people, they're not loud. Like that whole quote, rich richness is loud, wealth whispers, something like that, right? But it's like I feel like anyone can really get rich. I think you can get rich off a job. I think you can get rich off a couple good investments. I think you can get rich off a small business. But wealth is generational. Wealth is what is like actually impressive because rich you can become rich by doing anything for a long time, right? If you work a job that pays six figures over a long enough period of time, yes, you'll become a millionaire or whatever the case may be. If you have a good investment or you have a good startup or whatever the case may be, you'll become rich, right? And you can be able to afford, whatever you want, the luxuries. You could buy a Benz, you could buy Louis Vuitton, you can buy Balenciaga, whatever. I don't know, right? People be buying anything and everything, but wealth is what you should actually aim for, because if you're like me, you don't care for like materialism. If you're not materialistic, and you just want to have financial freedom, like real financial freedom, where you're not having to work and you're able to afford luxuries in terms of time. So like you're able to buy back your time. Maybe you're able to make someone in your family's life easier, buying them a car or paying for their education so they don't have to go through debt, and like stuff of that nature, where it's like you can afford it without it hurting your bank account. And also you're like, anything that gets you your time back is I wouldn't say it's considered wealthy, but that's what the wealthy people care about. They just want more and more of their time back, because at the end of the day, money is just commodity. It's just paper that's being printed by the government as a bartering process, right? So if you just chase money, you'll eventually get it, right? You'll become rich, work the job, have a small business that's profitable, make a couple good investments, right? But the wealth is what you truly want, because that's financial freedom at its finest, right? You're able to travel anywhere, you're able to work anywhere, you're able to provide for anyone, you're not stressed about money. And I feel like getting wealthy is hard because it doesn't require, everything requires a little bit of luck and risk, but it's not typically accounted for, because how are you supposed to account for luck and risk? It's not quantifiable. But if you want to get wealthy, it does take a long time. It takes a long time, but it lasts a long time. So it takes a lot of consistency and a lot of hard work, because you need to be able to have a good business or have a really good job or something like that, right? And you'd have very good consistent investments. So it's not like you're like sporadically investing here and there. It's like, no, like Warren Buffett got rich because he invested. Warren Buffett got wealthy because he invested for long periods of time. And it's like the numbers, if you look at his compounding, are fucking nuts. It's like after he turned 50, he made billions of dollars, but before that he was just like not regular, but he wasn't making, like, his compounding went nuts after he turned age 50. And it's just like, it took 50 years for him to become like a billionaire or whatever the case may be. I don't know the exact numbers, don't quote me on it. But point is, it's like, if you want to become really wealthy and never have to worry about money, it's going to take a long time. So you need to expand your time horizon. But if you just want to become rich, all you have to do is find a lucrative job position or find a lucrative business that you can just do. And I feel like a lot of online businesses, like every online guru talks about how easy it is to make $10,000 a month. And it makes sense, because if you're selling a product and you're selling to the whole world, you're bound to sell a couple, or whatever the case may be. Or you're selling an expensive service, you're bound to sell a couple, because there's so much people in the world. Even if you sell to 1%, that's a whole shit ton of people. It's just whether you're able to like put the skills together of like being able to build a website and pay for, whatever tools you need, and pay for the product and this and that, be able to market and stuff like that. But like I said, you can get rich easily. You can just, work a job, invest a little bit, buy some real estate eventually, do a little side hustle of an online business, and you'll get rich. It'll take maybe 3, 4, 5 years or whatever the case may be. But if you want to be wealthy, which is like what actual financial freedom is, it's not like, if you get rich, you can potentially lose it all by buying too much of materialistic things, having like, overspending based off and going into debt because you want to have a really big house and multiple cars, and you want to pay for all your kids' tuition and full, whatever the case may be, right? But wealth, you need to expand your time horizons. You need to be consistent. You need to work harder and smarter than everyone else, because the wealth is not for everybody. Everybody can't get wealthy, because that's when the economy would get too messed up. because I think wealth is what actually the 1% is, right? The 1% figure out ways to make a lump sum of money without, after a long, like all the people that are rich right now, like you'll see like teenagers or like, people that are like 21, 22 that are rich, right? They'll have like, they'll have nice cars, they'll be traveling all the time, this and that, but it's like they're rich, right? They just have some money in their bank account. Maybe they're not working a traditional job. They found a good lucrative position, but at the end of the day, if they lose that position, or if they lose their clout, or if they lose their business, and shit just starts going south, they lose on their investments, they're not rich anymore. Now they have to figure out a way, another way to make money. But the wealthy people, they have the skills, the knowledge, and the assets to always, if they lost everything, they would be able to make it back, because they're truly understand how money works and operates, right? And they would never get in scenarios like that because they don't overspend. The wealthy people are so smart with their finances. They will build assets before they pick up liabilities. They'll drive a Ford. They'll have a small house. They'll buy their houses in cash instead of having a mortgage. They'll do all the things that are important and hard in the short term, but really worth it in the long term, because their goal and their aim is for wealth. It's not like, I want to show off that I have a Benz. I want to show off that I'm wearing Louboutins or I'm wearing Gucci or whatever. They don't care for none of that shit, right? They don't care to show off. Again, wealth whispers. So they do all the necessary and hard things in the short term, so their long term and their generations to come are set. And they're not like splurging here and there. They have a high savings rate. They're making consistent investments. And I feel like a lot of people get wealth and rich mixed up. And once you start understanding how money works, and you understand how rich and the wealthy work and all of this, I feel like a lot more people understand that they want to get wealthy. I mean, if you're materialistic and you care to have all the like luxuries and all this and that, maybe you do want to get extremely rich and you don't care for like retirement or your future generations or stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't really care for the materialistic things. Maybe it's because I've had a couple of expensive materials and I realized it doesn't do nothing for me. And I feel like I learned that easy way because I drive a Benz, and I don't really pay for it, so it doesn't really cause me any suffrage. But having it, I realized it's like, a car's a car. You're paying for the logo. You're going from point A to point B. It doesn't really matter what you really have. And like other people have to learn that lesson by going through it themselves. I got lucky by not having to do it myself, by not having to pay for it. Nonetheless, I feel like you do have to learn the lesson. If you are like, yeah, I do want to get rich. I do want to have a Benz, a Beamer, this and that. I want to be in a big body. A lesson, if you need the lesson, you need the lesson. Go through it, learn it, and then eventually I feel like a majority of people will understand what it takes to get rich, and they'll be like, okay, this is doable. But the hard thing is getting wealthy, and once you understand that that's your ultimate goal, you'll have a longer time horizon, and you just have to make sure you work for that long time. And I'm talking about like 10, 15 years, 30 years, and then you'll understand, you'll set all your actions in properly. You won't be like, okay, how can I get $1 million business tomorrow? How can I do this? Like, you're thinking long term. Okay, so you're thinking about, okay, if I invest in these stocks, how will they compound? Is real estate really that good of an investment if I'm going to be locked in for 30 years, having to pay interest and big down payments? Am I going to really work this job, or am I going to take the risk and start a business? Stuff of that nature that you need to start thinking about. How can I do this in a long-term play rather than short-term? But it's definitely something to think about. Do you want to get wealthy or do you want to get rich? Wealth is the better option, for me at least.